The 2023 Philadelphia Eagles show back up again on Monday Night Football. The Eagles blow it 22-21 against the Atlanta Falcons to drop to 1-1. The Locked On Eagles postgame show coming your way.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. It's the post-game show. Louis DiBiase, joined as always by Gino Camilleri. We're brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. 22-21 the final. The Eagles dropped to 1-1 after a Monday Night Football loss to the Atlanta Falcons. A last-second go-ahead touchdown for the Falcons, which was wide open because Darius Slay had no idea what he was supposed to be doing. It felt like, Gino, the final 2 minutes, nobody knew what they were supposed to be doing on either side of the ball. So frustrating. Nick Foles night. Jason Kelsey's on Monday Night Football. The vibes were immaculate. A.J. Brown out. Jalen Hurts had an incredible game. And they're one Saquon Barkley drop away from being 2-0, and we could have celebrated and had such a good positive show. But the 2023 Eagles showed up at the last second, just like they did last year when they blew 3 games that they lost despite leading with 2 minutes to go or less. That team showed back up, and that's really disappointing because I was just about to come on this show and say, Nick Sirianni still has this locker room. They would blow this game all year last year in the second half of the season, but they didn't this time. They didn't 2 weeks in a row. Never mind. So, and coaching was, to me, the main reason. Like, yes, Saquon dropped the ball, and that's on him. But to me, coaching was apparent how bad that was holding this football team back today. When they were down A.J. Brown and needed help on defense, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio did not come through, and Nick Sirianni didn't either.
Nick Sirianni, he has got some cojones smiling the way he did on the sideline with 2 minutes to go.
It was extremely frustrating.
Like you had the game all locked up, Nick. Like it was all done. Bad teams play 58 minutes. Bad teams don't lose that game. Good teams don't lose that game. Bad teams do. Poorly coached teams lose that game. Poorly coached teams allow the 7th most improbable comeback since the year 2016, according to Next Gen Stats, against the Atlanta Falcons, who, no disrespect to them, the Eagles had their way all night.
No disrespect to them. They didn't do anything today.
They did
nothing to deserve that win. The Eagles blew this game.
Yeah, man, and you said it was a lot like 2023. No, this was 2018 Eagles bad, like Tennessee Titans, Carolina Panthers.
It felt like Seattle last year, just every collapse you can think of.
Nick Sirianni, you got to tell me, man, like, how are you going to walk into that locker room and look those guys in the eye? Like, after you were so smug,
especially your quarterback, man. Like, your quarterback's carrying this team on his back, over 80 yards rushing, had, a near 75-80% completion percentage the majority of the game without his best receiver.
It's your coach. It's your coach, man.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's not just Nick Sirianni, but Kellen Moore suddenly became Brian Johnson, where he's dialing up QB draws on 3rd and long. He's bringing in Kenneth Gainwell in the red zone when Saquon Barkley's cooking. Even though Saquon Barkley dropped that pass, Gino, why are you dialing up that passing play on 3rd and short in that situation with the lead under 2 minutes to go to keep the clock going? Like, yes, it could have worked, but the drive before that, the exact same play worked, but it was only because Saquon Barkley, who they threw it to 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, bulldozed a corner over to get the first down. So that play barely worked a drive or two before that, and then Kellen Moore decides to dial it up again, and it cost them the game. It felt like I was watching Brian Johnson and Sean Desai with Nick Sirianni coach, and not Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Because if you look on defense, too, that final drive, yeah, the pass rush was egregious, and we'll get into that. But Darius Slay has no idea where he's going in coverage. Avonte Maddox and Quinyon Mitchell are running into each other. No one knows their assignment. Vic Fangio, hasn't he been doing this for 100 years? I mean, this defense was not ready to save the day either, and they saved the day all game, and props to them for that in the secondary. The secondary is not who I'm blaming in this, but the coaching did not have them ready to go on that final drive whatsoever. This was a complete blunder from the two guys we thought were going to elevate Nick Sirianni in this football team and fix all your problems from last year.
it's hard for me to really like kill the defense. Like I blame the players.
I won't blame the secondary at all. They had a great game. In the red zone especially, how many times should Atlanta have scored a touchdown and they settled for field goals?
And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson made arguably the biggest momentum changing.
And we don't even get to celebrate that now.
And you don't even get to appreciate that because the pass rush did nothing for you. It's
absolutely
Vic
nothing.
Fangio. You can't play this too high shell when there's literally 2 minutes to go and this team is going to dink and dunk you to death. Like you have to situationally be aware. But Nick Sirianni, man, like I have a master's degree in accounting. I did more numbers than I can tell you what. You can't look at me, Nick Sirianni, and tell me you're a smart guy because the analytics say after Saquon Barkley drops the ball, which analytically you run the ball in that situation 100 times out of 100, you have plus 3.8 win percentage higher to go for it than you did to kick the field goal to make a one-score game.
I cannot believe he kicked that field goal.
Nick Sirianni is the guy in a college bar that would talk to me and try and sell me something, and I would walk out of that bar and say he's the dumbest person I've ever talked to because I know exactly who this guy is.
He coached scared.
You and I know these people in Western New York. They try and wheel and deal you, and he tries to get behind the microphone and say, "Oh, we're a couple plays away. We're a couple plays away." Well, buddy, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and executes like a duck, Jalen Hurts had 2022 MVP-like performance.
And he took the ball out of his hands with fourth and what? It wasn't even 4th and 11, Gino. It's 4th and 3 or 4.
Dude, let Saquon
They've
Barkley
already gotten that play
down. Let him put his shoulder down and then go for the tush push, which is
you have the strongest backfield. You have literally the strongest backfield in the NFL when it comes to pure power. And yet you took the ball out of their hands and kicked a field goal. I mean, if that's not conservative cowardice coaching. Like that was when Doug Peterson lost the team. That was when
AJ told him that we lost the game in the Super Bowl because we kicked the field goal.
Or in 2020 when Doug Peterson's punting and settling for a tie, that lost the team. I'm not saying what Nick Sirianni did tonight lost the team, but it felt like Super Bowl 57. Well, like you said, when he punted at the 50. And yeah, I'm almost there with you, Gino. Like that was.
I'm done, man. Like you can't look me in the eye and tell me you lose. The way he was smiling on the sideline, like the game was over. Like the game was over after ripping his headset off and yelling at his guys to keep their head in the game. Well, if you're not in the game, Nick, and you're looking so smug like it's over, why are the guys going to play 60 minutes? Why? Why should they? Why should they when the leadership has not been there? And you can't pick and choose when to be analytically good and go for it in certain situations. When you go for it early on and you don't take the 3 points, understood. You go for it multiple times and you score touchdowns. I get it. But then at the end of the game, to put your tail between your legs and cower, like go get your bubble wrap,
that would have been the
wrap
game.
Yourself up, lock yourself in a closet, and go away from humanity if you don't want to deal with any adversity at all. Because that was the first moment of adversity that you faced in that situation. You needed to win that football game, and you cowered. You cowered, Nick Sirianni.
And I know, Gino,
disgusting.
The defense bailed you out a lot in the red zone, but it's not like that defense wasn't giving up yards. Like, Nick Sirianni acted like, oh, this defense hasn't been allowing the Falcons to drive down the field all game. Like, yeah, they held them to under 20 points. But the Falcons were in the red zone all of the time. The pass rush was not getting there. The red zone, like the rushing defense, was not effective enough for the majority of this football game. To assume they were going to hold Atlanta in their own territory and not march down the field, they were at Philly's like 30, 25-yard line in 20 seconds. They got down there in a split second. And so for Nick Sirianni to bank on that and put the game on the defense's shoulders instead of the offense. We said this on the show this week. That's not how you're going to win football games this year. The offense is the one with all these top 10 paid players at every single damn position, and you didn't trust those guys to get a 4th and 4. Instead, you put the pass rush that's not doing anything in a young secondary in that kind of position. I'm with you. That's on Fangio and Kellen Moore, but that is more so Nick Sirianni than anybody else tonight.
Lou, people are probably going to sit here and say we're a little bit reactionary, and maybe we are a little bit over the top.
But this is 2 years. This is a year and a half in the making.
If you've listened to us over the last week and a half, or not even beyond that, maybe the last 6 months or so when the Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio hiring was made, and after those happened, we came on those airwaves, Lou, and I hit you with the quote. Nick Sirianni, what exactly do you do here? If you're this CEO, if you're this big brain guy,
right, this is what he's
if you're my
Make the
CEO
right call.
in my boardroom, I'm getting the board of directors to vote you out. If you were a college coach, the entire booster would meet tomorrow to cut a check to get you out of Dodge, Lou. If you're in the Super Bowl and you do that, that's why you lost and Doug Peterson won. And Nick Sirianni, you're not going to have that Lombardi trophy, but Nick Foles, on Nick Foles night with Jason Kelsey in the building, I have this right, Lou. I've watched this team for 24 years. I have this right to take this moment right now. Nick Sirianni, that you are a coward. A coward. You are not the person you tried to tell us that you were. And good thing Big Dom is by your side because you need him. Because you are a fraud.
It's a great point. On Nick Foles night, Jason Kelsey there, the most aggressive team in franchise history, the Eagles were bigger cowards than I've seen them in a very long time. And that's on Nick Sirianni. And you make a great point. Like, what does he do here? He's not calling plays anymore because the Eagles didn't trust him to run the offense. He's not running the defense, never has. These are the situations he's supposed to come through, making the right decision on 4th and 4 with the game on the line, and he didn't do it. So if he's not going to do that either, then get this guy out of here. And they're 1-1, and like in a vacuum, is this game like the end all be all? No, but this isn't just the first time we're dealing with this. This is a culmination of a year and a half of results, and that's the most disappointing part because I thought they last week showed they were overcoming that, and I thought I was about to say that again today on the show, but they didn't. They lost 22-21 over the Atlanta Falcons. The Locked On Eagles postgame show continues coming up next. All right, this episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business or maybe the business of the Philadelphia Eagles who might need a new head coach soon, you're going to find quality professionals that are right for your role through LinkedIn Jobs. They have the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. They help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so you're not looking on anywhere else than LinkedIn, or you're looking in the wrong spot. 86% of small businesses on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. And guys, today's show is also sponsored by Game Time. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks, they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And it's not just sports you can get tickets on, but concerts, comedy, theater, all that and more. Plus, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know you're getting a great view on top of the great prices. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. 22-21 the final score. The Eagles blow it against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football to drop to 1-1. Now they have to go to the Superdome in New Orleans to take on a Saints team that has scored over 90 points. So I'm sure this is the game we're going to see Bryce Huff bounce back in the pass rush. And yeah, Gino, that's the thing. Like, we talked about the coaching in segment 1. They completely blew this game.
I got one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
That
sure.
is even enraging me even more. Jimmy Kempski just tweeted out from Nick Sirianni's post-game press conference. Nick Sirianni said there was a mechanism on the 3rd and 3 play that if it was not wide open, Jalen Hurts sits down and takes a sack. At that point, they'd run the clock and kick the field goal. Well, Mr. Coach,
that
how
means
about
nothing to
instead
me.
of throwing the quarterback under the bus in that situation just there, you take accountability.
And it was there, so why even say that? And saying that in that scenario, so the play no matter what was to be conservative and kick a field goal?
Yes,
how does that make you look better?
Coward. It makes you look worse, and you're throwing your quarterback under the bus, dude. Take accountability.
And that was the right read. It was a drop. If Saquon catches it, it's a first down. Yeah, that makes me even angrier. That pisses me off even more. So awesome. Thanks for that. Love that. and Gino, again, like, it wasn't just the coaches that looked bad. I mean, Howie Roseman's decisions on the defensive line, I know he had to see through this investment in the defensive tackles, who I didn't think had a terrible game, but right now I would love Hassan Reddick back because Bryce Huff and Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, they just are doing absolutely nothing for this pass rush. Like, unless they go blitz all out and run cover 0, which Fangio did not do a lot today, by the way, it was blitz. Unless that's the plan, I don't know how they're getting to the quarterback, because these guys they're not getting the job done. Brandon Graham looked like the only reliable player, which is hilarious considering the guy is in his 15th year. Like, the pass rush, Kirk Cousins is 36 years old, coming off an Achilles tear, which, by the way, he said himself before the game is not 100% healed. Mm-hmm. The Falcons came into this game with the second worst pass blocking grade of any offensive line, and they had 2 quarterback hits to show for it, the Milton Williams sack and one other play. I mean, it's just unbelievable. That's not going to get the job done.
The one thing about the Fangio scheme is that you knew they were going to be lighter up front, and they are exceptionally lighter up front to the point where they can't set an edge at all.
I was going to say it's too much, man. Like, Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff cannot play against the run. No, they don't have the bodies for this.
There were multiple times, Nolan Smith especially, he took one hit where
he got rocked by Bijan Robinson. He put him on his back.
Like, the tackle kind of vacated the area and Bijan came up and just smoked him in pass protection. Bryce Huff wasn't able to set the edge. I thought Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter against the run were more active. Like, things were outside, like their outside zone was a really effective.
I also thought Thomas Booker had a great game.
Yeah, dude, like, talk about a guy who should
He was their best player against the run, maybe.
Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, I thought, played pretty good too, but the pass rush, man, it's abysmal. Like, Josh Sweat is not playing himself into a contract right now. Nope. Bryce Huff is a personnel versus coaching staff just mismatch where it doesn't work. Nolan Smith got to take a jump sometime, man. Like,
he looks like a bust right now. I'm just going to say it. It's not done, but he looks like a bust right now.
You got a bunch of guys that are supposed to be third down pass rushers, but can't rush the passer on third down.
That's the problem, Gino. It's like, if Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith were getting you sacks, if they were getting you pressure wins, then it would be okay, more stomachable. That's not even probably a word, but like, you could stomach it more if they were terrible against the run, if they're getting to the quarterback. They're not Bryce Huff. It's not just what you said about, yes, you're right, Fangio and Huff. Clearly, this feels like Rasul Douglas, who Howie wanted and Jim Schwartz didn't, all over again. But it's not just that. Bryce Huff's not getting to the quarterback either. It's like, I would call the Jets tomorrow and be like, I'll give you that second or third round pick back.
Can we just cancel the trade?
Yeah, not just like a fifth.
Happened. We'll send you
I will literally redo that trade, and you can have Huff back too.
This one is tough, Lou, because you have invested so much to where what is
right. You had to see it.
What is the fork in the road? Yeah,
but it does not look good.
It doesn't look good on either front. Like, you hire Fangio, who, if you're looking at Miami, who they had on the edge last year, Lou, you got Jalen Phillips, you got Bradley Chubb, like 2 tweener types that can play the front side of stuff. And then all of a sudden, Josh Sweat made one good play against the run. And besides that, he was effectively invisible that game. And I know they need to spill everything to the linebackers, but like, the fits on the edge weren't good, so the linebackers weren't getting to the right fit, and it was just a conundrum of errors. But the red zone defense should have allowed you to win the game, going 1 for 7 on third down.
They played exceptionally well in the red zone.
Allowed you to win the game. Jalen Hurts not turning the ball over for a majority of that game should have won you the game. But boneheaded decision. Like, I know Saquon has to make that play, but man, he made 100 other plays before that. It doesn't.
That's why it's hard to be mad at Saquon, because without Saquon, you're not close to winning that football game. So
I've seen Nick Sirianni make dumb, boneheaded plays and play calls. I've seen Saquon make good plays, like put the ball in Saquon's hands and not trust the coach right now. That's where I'm at. Like, I don't get it at all.
Eagles Saints next Sunday. Before we wrap up the post-game show, we'll get positive. I mean, we'll talk a little Jalen Hurts. At least the quarterback was, I thought,
so good, and we can't even appreciate
really good.
It.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Is this should have been a win, and there were a lot of pros that we haven't talked about, because how can you? But I guess that's what we'll get into coming up next, because they are 1-1, and it's only 2 games into the year. So we'll finish things off positive right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Locked On Eagles is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And Gino, we did pretty well with our LOE
One
threes.
Of the positives of today, that's for sure. One of the positives of tonight, my friend.
I was going to say we did pretty good. I went 2-1. I think you did as well.
Yes, sir, 4-2 on the night.
Yes.
Okay.
So there you go. So we did pretty well on America's #1 sportsbook. We got something a little bit different for you too through FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. That's huge. Gino and I, neither one of us live in Philadelphia. We need that for Eagles games. Just make sure to bet. Ride with us for LOE 3. Just put $5 on it. You're going to get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. Just visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, 22-21 final score. The Eagles dropped to 1-1, which is the first time they've done that in the Sirianni-Hurts era since 2021, since the beginning of it. But this team should be 2-0, and that's the frustrating yet, I don't know, I guess silver lining to it. That, like Jalen Hurts was really good. He didn't have A.J. Brown, and he was exceptional. Like, he was efficient, I thought, from the pocket, Gino. I thought he looked very comfortable in Kellen Moore's offense. I challenged him this week. I'm like, I want to see him not only scramble and make plays with his legs, which he did, had over 80 rushing yards today, some huge 3rd and 4th down rushing conversions, but I wanted to see him have success throwing on the run. And man, did he have 4 or 5 really nice plays where he scrambled, got out to the right, made a throw on the run, and got the first down. Jalen Hurts was exceptional today. And so was Saquon Barkley, believe it or not. And so was a lot of that offensive line and Devontae Smith. Outside of the touchdown drop, him and Saquon had 2 bad drops. But overall, like I really thought the offense stepped up without A.J. Brown. Dotson didn't really do much, and Goddard too. But like Covey had a great game. There's a lot of positives that sucks we can't really enjoy that much.
The Devontae Smith, people are saying it was a drop. I think that's a really good play.
Yeah,
by the corner
and Smith
there.
made a lot of like Saquon. It's tough to crap on Smith because he had
man.
such a good game.
He didn't have his other bad boy there. He did the celebration after that tutty, which we cashed anytime touchdown from Lou there.
I hit that. Let's go.
90. That was huge. Saquon Barkley was ripping off like 9.8 yards per carry at one point in that game. I believe Troy Aikman mentioned that Jalen Hurts was 17 of 18 from the pocket. And at one point you had texted me and you're like, are we going to have to get a new quarterback if this guy isn't
because he didn't look
anymore?
Explosive, and then he just turned it on.
Turned the switch. I don't know what it was, what he did on the sideline. If he drank,
I have no idea.
Jordan's magic juice,
because I wasn't nuts, right? Like he looked slow in the beginning.
Dude,
I was gonna say
it was 2 different people. It was Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this was the guy that we knew could run the ball in 2022, who is the MVP, man. And another thing, Lou, I know we got to be positive.
You don't have to be.
I'm going to spin it into a positive. For the offense to be as effective as they were, overcoming as many penalties as they've had.
Yeah.
Look at how many, 3 eligible man downfields and holding calls, and they were still pretty good cashing it in the red zone. And that's the thing. It's so tough to lose a game like that where you hold the ball for 20 minutes in the second half. And
they go on a 9-minute drive, 17 plays. They
march longest of the Sirianni era.
And they score
70 yards.
That's the thing, man.
70 yards.
Like this team isn't dead, and there were a lot of positives, but it's hard to trust them because of Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I don't
his coaching
trust
staff.
Nick at all
now if the game is close, which every game is, they haven't won by 2 possessions since the Miami game last year in the beginning of the season. I'm just going to be nervous until that clock hits 0. I got too comfortable today. I thought there's a minute 40. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a win. I'm getting excited. I'm ready to talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and how he's just the heartbeat of this defense. Takes out Bijan on 4th down with his helmet flying off. He's doing the eagle dance on the logo, and the whole crowd is chanting defense. The vibes were great for a lot of this. Quinyon Mitchell jumps a ball perfectly in the first quarter, nearly gets a pick. Had another nice pass breakup on a 2-point conversion play. Again, this team is not dead, and they could easily be 2-1 by next Sunday, in less than a week. But it's just really tough to feel good about that right now because this was such a 2023 loss. It literally felt like Seattle all over again, where Drew Lock drove down in a minute and a half and wins the game. It felt to a T just like that, and that's concerning.
2018 Carolina, 2018.
It feels like a game,
Titans.
when we're doing the podcast in 2 years, we're going to be like, remember the Atlanta game in 2024. Like that. This is one of those losses. It's going to be.
Team.
Yeah.
And
I felt sick because I wanted that win badly. I felt sick after that Saquon drop.
You can't count your chickens before they hatch in the NFL, man. Like, I've seen too many games, especially for this freaking football team that we still support no matter what, win or loss. We still support the logo.
Hey, it's great for the pod, man. I'm not going to lie.
But one of the things, Lou, coaches come and go. The logo stays the same, but the guys in charge, Howie Roseman isn't going anywhere. Jeffrey Lurie isn't going anywhere. Jalen Hurts isn't going anywhere. If your CEO is not putting your company in the black and you are constantly in the red from a financial perspective, which this Philadelphia Eagles team,
he does nothing else.
They are not elevated by their coaching staff in a constant basis. Last week, I thought Kellen Moore did an exceptional job elevating that offense. Tonight, I thought the players elevated the coaching staff. Vic Fangio, for a majority of the game, looked really good. But at the end, situationally, when good coaches win games, they drop the ball there. It's on everybody. They all have to look in the mirror. But it's just hard for me to keep sitting here and saying, oh, I saw Nick do it in the past. I believe he can do it again. Well, recently, he hasn't done it, man. Like, not in the last calendar year. They've been downright poor.
It's just the cowardice part that's where my trust is gone, because I don't think he'll always come through on those fourth down decisions anymore. Like, I don't think I trust Sirianni to make the right call. Like, I trusted Doug even.
He was picking and choosing. Like, he didn't make the right call. Like, he went for it 3 times, Lou.
The logic was
missed
weird.
Field, the one where they didn't settle for 3, where they got a touchdown, and then analytically, it tells you to go. Dude,
that's the thing. It didn't feel like he was doing these, Gino, like off of the
situation.
numbers. It felt like Sirianni's decision-making was off of vibes, off his own feelings.
He's at a bachelor party with his boys playing blackjack, and the book says hit. The book says hit, and he's like, oh, no, I'm going to split these.
The logic,
I'm gonna hit here.
The logic wasn't there.
He kills everybody at the table is what he does.
All right, we've still got 3-4 more podcasts for you this week to get you ready for Eagles Saints Sunday. That's a big game the Eagles head on the road, Superdome, a red-hot New Orleans team. Got to take this film, throw it out quick, and hopefully.
No, you need to figure out what's wrong with this football team.
No, never mind. You can't toss this film out. I'm tossing it out, though. I will never watch this game again. I will never watch this game again.
Bad, man. Bad.
That's going to do it for the Locked On Eagles postgame show. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen each and every day. 22-21 the final for Gino Camilleri. I'm Lou DiBiase signing off until tomorrow for Stock Up, Stock Down. Thanks so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.